Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Thursday, November 10th, 2016. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Joined as always on Thursdays by the lovely and talented Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Steve, how are you this fine morning? Indian summer in Indianapolis?
Good morning, Daniel. It looks great out there. I'm about to step outside for the first time, drinking my smoothie, enjoying a good morning here.
I am as well. Sunny in the Gem City. Probably got 2 or 3 days left like this in the year, but I digress. Huge recruiting weekend with Nebraska here. Night game. And Ohio State put on a show. I was about 5 rows back from the Nebraska sideline, and it was a beatdown of epic proportions. As I told some others, one of the least stressful games I've been to. But there was still work being done on the recruiting front. I want to talk about one guy in particular to start with because he was one of my loves of the class, but I had given up. Now it feels like he could be back in. Baron Browning, the All-American linebacker from Texas. Give us the latest.
Well, Ohio State's always been a top contender for Barron. I'm still not ready to put him in the class by any means, but he's certainly been a guy that's been a high on the Buckeyes. He's been in Columbus before. He's coming back to Columbus, so Baron Browning's a guy that Ohio State's certainly in the mix for. What a beatdown that was over the weekend, and Ohio State's got to be one of the toughest places to play a night game at. Why do they play the Michigan-Ohio State game at noon every year? Tell me that. Is that part of the tradition? It's got to be, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I personally like that it's at noon because, you can get done with your recruiting coverage by 5 from that game.
Mm-hmm.
But, a night game for that, geez, that would be nuts.
It would, put it this way, if they move that to a night game, we might have to open up a separate message board just to address that issue. But I digress. You did flip a crystal ball after a visit this weekend. I'm not sure if people will be super surprised about that. Safety Bubba Bolden came with the Bishop Gorman contingent, and it was a contingent. What made you finally flip it?
Well, people were reading the tea leaves before and putting in their forecasts, and that's good. I wanted to wait till Bubba visited to, put mine in, and I put mine in mid to late visit for him. His parents were having a great time. He was having a great time. I talked to him after the game, loved the atmosphere. Obviously, he knows a lot of people there going there, and, they've really gelled with the coaching staff and the players in the locker room and the commits and the parents enjoyed it. And it's going to be a tough visit to top for anyone coming out of it. And they don't have a player like Bubba Bolden in this class. It's the number 1 class in the country. But Bubba, he's a do everything safety now. He's a outstanding tackler, a very physical player, an explosive player. He can cover. He's long. He's got all the traits you're looking for in an elite safety. He's a guy that we have a little underrated, but at the U.S. Army All-America Bowl, he is a top 100 recruit, but he may be a top 32 recruit, a 5-star caliber guy. So I'm excited to see him again at the Army Bowl, but I've seen him a few times this fall watching game tape, and he's fantastic.
Yeah, he fits the modern game beautifully. I think Ohio State recent tradition, and I even put that in quotes because it's actually been going on for a while, but their recent tradition of defensive backs, if you look, Marshawn Lattimore is now considered, at least by ESPN, we'll just use that as the number 1 cornerback in the draft. In the rankings that came out yesterday by one of their people, he was ranked number 8 overall. So I think they've proven that. How about
that DB development there?
But just look, and Hooker's not even ranked, and we have an argument among the staff on who's better, Conley or Lattimore.
They got a lot of guys making plays. Damon Webb got in the end zone. Yeah,
yep.
It's just the defensive back development, Kerry Combs and the staff. Salute to them. Recruiting great players, great athletes, but getting great athletes to make plays is the trick, and Ohio State's doing it.
the fact that you could insert Hooker, Webb, and Lattimore and really be this good that early does, like you said, clearly they're talented kids, but obviously they knew a thing or two when they got on the field, and so the experience hasn't been that big of a deal. The mirror skills for Lattimore are just off the charts. I got a chance to watch that up close on Saturday night. Just an incredible player. One other guy I wanted to talk about that you flipped one for, 2018 player that maybe some people haven't heard about, the number one player in Colorado, Adrian Jackson, outside linebacker, 6'2", 210, kind of fits that athletic, versatile edge mold type guy. Tell us a little bit about Adrian and why you flipped him.
Well, I just know that Tony Alford's been recruiting him for a long time. Tony Alford's got those Colorado ties on the Buckeye staff, was very integral in landing Jake Moretti in this class, and I think if Ohio State pushes for Adrian, they're going to land him in 2018. The thing is, Ohio State's in on a lot of big-name linebackers in next year's cycle. Alex got Dallas Gant on the record this past week saying Ohio State has the edge for him. Obviously, you got Pale Gattiotti from Bishop Gorman, the number one linebacker in America, regardless of grade, maybe in 2018. I know I'm drawing a blank on some other cats. Yeah, Chris Oates, obviously feel really good about Ohio State for Chris Oates. So there's a lot of high-profile names that Ohio State's at the top for. So, I'm not sure how many they plan to take next year and what the numbers are right now, but he's another guy that if he was deciding right now, I think he's going to Ohio State. In fact, he told me Ohio State leads, so it's not like I really went out on a limb for that pick.
But you're right, they do seem to be in good shape for Pele Gattiotti, the number 2 linebacker in the country. Dallas Gant from Toledo St. John's is number 8. Chris Oates, another kid from Winton Woods in Cincinnati, is 21. So you're right, Adrian Jackson's going to be up against some serious competition. All right, I've been asked to ask you this question for 3 weeks, so if this doesn't seem as timely, people, bear with us. But you can just bring us up to date.
Well, they keep losing, so it makes it timely every week.
I already told you the question. You're going to give away the fact. That was sounds spontaneous. Brian Kelly, is he going to be back? He has a contract. Will they fire him? Mr. Indiana, answer the question for us.
I think he'll be back right now. Notre Dame going into this year, they've had some success under Brian Kelly, and I think it's bought them another year. In year 7, obviously, you'd like to see much better than 3-6, and they're much better. There's more talent on that roster. They should not be 3-6, but I think that Brian Kelly will still get a mulligan year right now. Could I change my mind if they lose the Army and then get blown out by Virginia Tech and USC? I certainly could maybe change my mind there, but I think Notre Dame's committed to Brian Kelly. And the main caveat, outside of the fact that he has won almost 80% of his games in his career, is the fact that he's got a 6-year deal right now. Notre Dame has made it a habit to pay coaches not to coach at Notre Dame. Tyrone Willingham got paid handsomely after he got fired. Charlie Weiss was getting paid more than Brian Kelly to not coach at Notre Dame. I think if all possible, and Notre Dame's a private school, people got to remember that. They're certainly not cash strapped like Miami was, but they still all their money they got to generate it themselves. I don't think they want to pay a third coach not to coach for 5 more years. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't know all the logistics of his contract. Maybe it wouldn't be 5 years of paying him not to coach, but I think he's bought himself another year with what he's already done at Notre Dame, which may eye roll some Ohio State fans because they've obviously had more success than that. But other programs, that is successful for other programs, and so I think he'll be back. But I think it's a lot of that all tied together that brings him back.
Looking ahead to this weekend, do you think Maryland poses any kind of a threat to Ohio State?
No, I mean, they just don't have enough guys. I think that they'll do some things schematically that will help Ohio State, but I think that they'll struggle. I think that Maryland's going to struggle against Ohio State. Plus, Ohio State knows they need to start clicking. It's November, and there's no room for error. You lose a game to Penn State, there's no room for error. So they're they're going to play to the caliber that I think they should. And you saw that against Nebraska. And I think I may be wrong, and it's super tough to play at Ohio State at night like we talked about, but if Ohio State didn't lose to Penn State, I don't know if they beat Nebraska 62-3.
Fair enough. I really think the reason they lost to Penn State, it was just back-to-back games
Oh, no,
on
I
the
get
road
it.
at night against tough teams. And
No
Wisconsin
question.
knocks the
No
crap
question.
out of people.
No question. And Penn State played very physical. I'm just saying the tone.
I hear you.
You know, that you
the motivation
respond to
factor
that.
was there.
You respond, and not even motivated. You respond, you know? So.
Here's my prediction for this weekend. Expect A.J. Alexander and Keandre Jones to make some big plays midway through the third quarter or later, because that's DMV recruiting, and you know Herb's going to be thinking about that in the sun in front of all those. Most of those people at that game are going to be there to see Ohio State. So stick around, Bucknutters. We got a full day for you. We thank Steve for stopping by. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. See you.